Hey guys, welcome to my world and welcome back. I am Larry Alfred Wiggs II. There I am, right there. That's my name, Larry Alfred Wiggs II. This is my poem. It's housed in this book, 109. And if you were watching the previous video I made, I just stopped the video just to create a new video, and I just stopped that previous video just 1 minute ago. So I'm going to pick up from where I left off, which is I was saying that up until, or excuse me, in 2007, I left America and I lived abroad in South Korea. And I lived abroad for, 8 years. And I actually lived abroad much longer than that. I'm actually making this video from abroad as well because I've continued to live abroad for a total of 12 years. But from where I left off in the last video, I had covered 8 years of my life while living abroad, and that I left off in 2015. And up until 2015, I had traveled to 9 countries. The United States of America, my home. I had returned and traveled to other countries. Okay, so I include the United States because I traveled there. I never missed a chance to go home. And my family, mom, dad, sis, and with my nieces being born, I had to go home to visit them. Always checking on the base, regrouping. All right, so America. I lived in South Korea. I was an English teacher. I still am an English teacher. And I taught English in South Korea. And from Korea, I traveled to Japan, Taiwan, China, the Philippines, Peru, Panama, and Canada. All right, up until 2015. But I was a slow traveler, as I mentioned before in the previous video. For the first 5 years of life in Korea for me, I had only traveled to Japan, which is only like traveling from, if you're a West Coast person, it's like traveling from LA to Vegas. If you're traveling from like Seoul to Tokyo, it's actually slightly farther, but you get the idea. The plane ride is about 2 hours when a plane ride from LA to Vegas is actually just about an hour. But so the distance is greater, but that's the analogy I'm going to use. So roll with me with that. All right, so for the first 5 years, I had only taken a trip, a short trip like that, which is, as I called it before, pathetic. All right. Anyhow, by the time 2015 rolled around, so there were 2007. And that was, after 8 years of living in Korea, I have finally traveled to 9 countries. All right, 2015 ended. All right, I got up to 9 countries traveled. I returned to South Korea in 2016 to work. I actually returned in 2014 and then 2015. And then 2016, I left Korea. All right. So from 2007 through 2016, I was living in Korea, and I had opportunities to travel to other countries, which I took slowly. I had to get my bearings and I had to muster my courage. All right. So by 2016, I traveled. I left Korea completely, and I was hired in, and I traveled to Saudi Arabia to work. So now I was entering the Middle East for the first time. 2016, I traveled there, and that changed my life because I was earning so much more money than I had ever earned in my life, and I was also centrally located. If you live in Saudi Arabia or in any country in the Middle East, you have access to Europe to the north and Africa to the southwest. And you also have other Asian countries to the east. So I took the opportunity to travel because I'm not getting any younger, and I have to, I want to see more of the world. So I went to Turkey from Saudi Arabia in 2016 December. I spent my Christmas there. From there, I traveled to, where did I go? I traveled from Saudi Arabia. I had talked with a lot of my colleagues, and they mentioned that Qatar, was a nice country to visit, and also what other? The UAE, Dubai, and Abu Dhabi. Okay, so Qatar, UAE, yeah. And because these countries are so close to Saudi Arabia, where I was living, I decided that I would take a weekend trip or spend my weekends traveling there. So I spent some money, and I flew to Qatar one weekend, flew to Abu Dhabi, which is in the United Arab Emirates, on another occasion. And on another weekend, I visited one of my friends whom I met in Korea, in Oman. All right, so by 2016, the number of countries began to add up. I was earning more money, and I was, again, centrally located, so I could travel to those places. So by 2016, I had been to 10, 11, 12, what is it? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. At least 14 countries total. 14 countries total. All right, I'm going to end this video here, and we'll pick up in another session. We'll continue with where I traveled to in 2017.